And so that first box is kind of reviewing all of those properties. So number one, if you have things multiplied and the base is written each time, so y to the 4th times y to the 7th, what do you do with those exponents? So that becomes y to the 11th. Number two, if it's a power to a power, what do we do? So that's y to the 28th. Number three, when we divide, what do we do with the exponents? Subtract them. Do we have more y's on the top or the bottom? So it will end on the bottom. So 7 minus 4 is 3. What do you put on the top?
1.
Number four, what does a negative exponent do? It becomes 1 over y cubed. Number five, what is anything to the 0 power? 1. Saying like you have no y's, so we just have a 1. All right, number 6. When we have that exponent on the outside and multiple things on the inside, what do we need to do? Distribute that. So 3 squared is 9. Y cubed squared
6
over 8 squared 64. Okay, number 7. When you factor, you take out the GCF. What is the greatest common factor here? So when I take that out, I'm left with?
1 minus 1.
Yeah, if you take out the whole thing, make sure you put your 1. When you're factoring out, it's like subtracting your exponents. So 1 minus 5y to the 3rd. All right. I'm going to give you a few minutes. So those examples, I know some of those are a little harder than what I just did. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do as many of those as you can, and then we're going to talk through them together. Do what you could, and then we'll kind of start talking through it. So number one, I know you could have just put it in your calculator. I want to work through it. What does a negative exponent do? Flips it. A 3/2 means you have the square root cubed. So the square root of 144 is 12. What's 12 to the 3rd? Is it? Okay. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought you said 1,720. All right, and on the bottom we have the square root of 49 is 7. 7 to the 3rd.
343.
So that's our final answer. Number 2, when you're multiplying, if the x is written each time, what do we do with these exponents? Add them. So grab your calculator. You don't have to get hung up on the fact that it's a fraction. You do 4/5 plus 2/3 plus negative 1/2. 29 over 30.
Yep.
All right. Number 3, if we distribute, 3 times 5 is 15. With these a's, you would add your exponents. So 3/4 plus 1/3
13/12.
plus 2 times 3 is 6. A 3/4 plus 2/3,
17/12.
and that's our final answer. Number 4, on the top, I have the whole thing to the 0 power. Anything to the 0 power is 1. On the bottom, I have a 5. But what happens to this b to the negative 6? Goes up. So it's just 1b to the 6th or b to the 6th on the top. Number 5, if I start multiplying on the top, negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. X cubed times x is x to the 4th. Y times y to the 4th, so you add those exponents, is y to the 5th. Over 9, x to the 8th, y cubed. So negative 18 over 9 reduces to negative 2. X's, we have more on the bottom. 8 minus 4 is 4. Y's, we have more on top. 5 minus 3 is 2. Number 6, 5 over 15 reduces to 1 over 3. X's, you could flip it first if you don't like the negatives, or we could subtract it from here. Which one's bigger, -4 or -2? Okay, so we'll end on the bottom. -2 minus -4, so -2 plus 4 is 2. Y's, we have more on top, so 8 minus -3, or 8 plus 3 is 11. Number 7, we take out the smallest power of x. What's smaller, -8 or -4? So if you take out the whole thing, it turns into a 1, minus 2, -4 minus -8. So -4 plus 8 is x to the 4. What questions do you guys have? So that is really our section 5 review. So section 6 was radicals. We've got a couple boxes on the bottom with those. So if we start reducing this, I have a negative on the outside, so it stays. Can I do the 5th root of 32?
Yeah,
2, so 2 comes out, nothing left. If I have 12 x's, how many groups of 5 can we make?
2.
How many left over? If I have 8 y's, how many groups of 5?
1,
How many left over?
3.
Yes. Make sure you don't forget that index on your radical. It's probably the most common thing I saw in answering questions yesterday, was leaving that part off. All right, number 2. This one is a square root. So 98, is that a perfect square? No. So we have to break it down. So we can break 98 into 49 and 2. Square root of 49 is 7, and a 2 stays underneath. If you have 9 A's, how many groups of 2 come out?
4.
So then there's 1 left. 5 B's, how many groups of 2? And 1 left. 8 C's, how many groups of 2?
4.
Does everybody understand how we're getting that? Number 3, can we do the cube root of 64?
Yeah.
Okay, but on the bottom, I have the cube root of x squared, and I can't do that. We can't leave a radical on the bottom. So a cube root says we have to have 3 of them before we can pull it out. We have 2 currently, so we need 1 more. So it would give me a 4 cube root of x on top. On the bottom, that's the cube root of x cubed, or just plain x. Next one. 4th root of 32. So that is not one that comes out evenly. Okay, so think about things that we can do the 4th root of. Can turn it into a 16 and a 2. So the 4th root of 16 is 2, and we still have a 2 underneath. A to the 7th. So if I have 7 A's, we can pull out groups of 4. So that means we have enough for 1 entire group and 3 left over. So 1A comes out, A cubed remains. If we have 28 B's, how many groups of 4 can we make? Oh, sorry, that's 23, not 28. So 23 bees, we can make 5 complete groups with 3 left over. And what would the denominator be? C. Questions on those? Reducing radicals. Okay, so the last thing we did was yesterday, we were working a little more with reducing these and getting radicals off the bottom. Let's go ahead and we'll just work through these together. Make sure everybody remembers. So these are the last 4 examples that I have. In order to add or subtract radicals, what do we have to have? Common radical. They have to be like terms, so that means same thing under the radicals. So we start by breaking these down. I cannot break down the square root of 7. Okay, this one. 28, I could break into 4 and 7. Square root of 4 is 2, times the 2 that's already there gives me a 4 radical 7. So the 4 radical 63.
7.
Square root of 9 is 3 times the 4 that was already out in front. So we get a 12 radical 7. So now when you add and subtract, you do the coefficients. So 3 minus 4 plus 12. So that would be 3 minus 4 is negative 1 plus 12. Result 11 radical 7. You guys do the multiplication one. So you multiply the 2 and the 4, that's an 8. Radical 3 times radical 3 is radical 9. I'm showing all my work here. You may not have, that's okay. You show what you need to. Okay, so the square root of 9 is 3, so this means 8 times 3, which is 24, minus 5, is 19. Negative 10 radical 3 and positive 4 radical 3 is negative 6 radical 3. You guys get that one? Okay. Number 3. I have, what's wrong with this one? Let me ask that.
It's a radical denominator.
Okay. We currently have 2 x's. How many do we need? We have to have a total of 5, so we need 3 more. So we have to multiply by the 5th root of x cubed. So on the top we have a negative 2, 5th root of x cubed. On the bottom, that's the 5th root of x to the 5th, which would just be x. The last one, we have to get the radical off the bottom. How would I do that? So the conjugate is square root of 5 plus 1. So you have to distribute everything. So square root of 3 times square root of 5 is square root of 15. Square root of 3 times 1 is square root of 3. On the bottom we FOIL. So that's the square root of 25 plus radical 5 and minus radical 5 cancel. And if you know that, you don't have to write it down. Minus 1. So square root of 25 is 5, minus 1 is 4. And that would be our final answer. Any questions for me? So that is all I have for you today as far as what I'm working through. If you flip it over, it has 10 review questions for you. So this is your homework. Probably a pretty good indicator of types of things that might be on your quiz on Monday. So you have the rest of the hour to work on that.
kind of